This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Good morning, sir. How was your weekend?
My weekend was fantastic. And if I still have a voice, enough of a voice to get through this segment, I will be happy to provide that for you.
So if we IV you, we can milk out how many gallons of alcohol?
Oof. Too much. I lost count. I wasn't counting after a while, but it was a fun weekend in New Orleans. I know this intro has Alan Poupard with his Montreal Expos hat. It wasn't Montreal. I was in the French Quarter, at least, in New Orleans.
There you go.
That's something. So at least we have some consistencies there. But blast.
Wake up in the morning to have a vignette.
What's that?
Did you wake up in the morning to have a vignette somewhere?
Oh, okay. So yesterday was supposed to be my travel back day, and I had a comfortable 5 p.m. flight to get back. Evening time, Miami, no problem, right? The weather actually in both cities at first delayed the flight 2 hours, then canceled it. I did have my beignet and coffee at Café du Monde yesterday morning, a nice Sunday morning beignet and coffee in New Orleans with a jazz with some jazz musicians playing right off on the sidewalk. It was wonderful. What an experience. It went downhill once we got to the airport and had to cancel a flight. Had to end up on a 6 a.m. today. So grabbed the hotel room to then catch some shut-eye. I was already beat yesterday. And then get back to the airport in the 4 o'clock hour sometime, like an hour before the flight. And
I told Sean when we went to the Senior Bowl, we drove, right? And I drove there and back, right? And I was telling Sean that, it's a 9 hour and 40-minute drive, right? When you take into the amount of time that you drive to the airport, then you fly, right? And then you also have to then check out, get your bags. Then you have to go rent the car, and then you have to drive 2 hours to Mobile. It was a total of 7 hours.
Yeah.
I go, the difference is a little over 2 hours, but I don't have to deal with any hassle. I just get in the car and I drive right to Mobile. If there's a little bit of a delay, I'm going to get there before the plane does, before, my whole thing. Like what you had now, those delays, I would have already, if it's the same delays, I get there before the damn plane does. That's how bad traveling is nowadays. How about that? How crazy is that? Okay.
Right. And those are some of the cities where it's debatable which one to go to. I mean, like Tampa, I always like to just drive. I have family in Tampa. I've gone for different things, whether it was when I was on the high school beat and had to go to that part of the state, or for any state competition, or visiting family, or Dolphins Buccaneers, regular season game 2 years ago, preseason game last year,
right,
and June practices, all that stuff. Jacksonville, one time I took a very comfortable flight to cover state track when I covered high school state track, or just high school sports. And it was also. I drove
from Marino 62.7. Okay.
Yeah. The one difference is when you're flying, then you can pull out your laptop and work on stuff when you have time. If there's breaking news, you can get to it. So driving, I got to drive the car. So, but if you're riding with someone, then you can do all those things too.
Right. That too. Yeah. You can switch it if anything.
Yeah.
If you got to type it up. All right. You agree with me, DeAndre Hopkins? I don't see that. You need accurate quarterbacks. I don't see that. You see inexperience there. You got Tannehill. He doesn't have the separation. I think it's kind of a desperation move because their young receiver has kind of been a disappointment. What do you think about that DeAndre Hopkins move?
Yeah. He signed for how much was it?
2 years, $26 million. Can make another $6 million in incentives.
Yeah. It's big. I mean, his production, his availability hasn't been there the last 2 years. Obviously, he had a great run seasons before that. So that's especially this late in the process. Then I could see why he went to Tennessee based on what he had there in terms of the offer. But there's a lot of other factors in play with Tennessee, and especially they did give up their stud receiver that they did have in A.J. Brown not long ago in that trade to Philadelphia. So. That's why now they feel so desperate, it seems, to replenish.
Well, no, the Traylon Burks kid, from Arkansas has not.
Yeah. has not panned out thus far. So they have some desperation there. Had to draft a quarterback and then draft another one the year before, Malik Willis, not panning out either, for at least in the short period of what they've seen there. So
no, if they drafted Will Levis, then Malik must be a freaking disaster, bro.
Right.
For them to draft a quarterback the year after, for them to pick up Dobbs off the street to start Malik, holy,
in games that determine whether they would make the playoffs or not.
Yeah,
whether they would win a division or not.
Right. And to me, that's where, obviously things have changed for him. And I understood the trade of A.J. Brown, because if you're going to go to Malik, why pay A.J. all that money? Draft another young guy, hope that you hit on the quarterback and the receiver, and then they both grow together. I understood the method behind the madness of what they were trying to do. You know what I mean? But it's just completely backfired on them because, dude, A.J. Brown is he's the guy you throw when he's covered.
Right. That Tannehill can do that with.
Right.
Derrick Henry. Right.
Anybody can do it because A.J. Brown is a freak, bro. You're not really going to jump with him. You're not going to fight him and win because he's so strong. You know what I'm saying? He has these Jimmy Butler hands, too, that they're like, vice grips. And so he's a beautiful receiver in that sense. And maybe that's where they misjudged it, because if you don't have great quarterbacks, you should have a guy that makes your life easy, and that's what that guy does. That guy's, my God.
That's when Ryan Tannehill had people going a little bit for a year or two there, where when he had the combination of Derrick Henry, who's running the ball, and then all he had to do was play action, and you have A.J. Brown over the top that you just lofted up to, then, you could maybe throw for some touchdowns and some efficient yardage on your pass, yards per pass.
Yeah, I just think it's not going to end up working out here now with DeAndre Hopkins. I think this is going to be a disaster of a signing. And then New England lowballs them, and I think Belichick hasn't realized now yet that he's no longer that destination anymore. Without Brady, people aren't going to take less to come to you, dude, anymore. You're going to have to overpay for people to come to New England as free agents. You agree with that?
Yeah, you're not grabbing Randy Moss in his prime, although when he went over there, he had his little bad stint with Oakland as well. But you're not going to have that record-setting combination in the first year together that season that Randy Moss had with Tom Brady. I mean, the appealing aspect was to have Brady throwing you the ball if you were going there. And a lot
or even if you were playing defense, you were playing with Brady at least. You knew the offense, hey, I could go do my job on defense. I'll take a little less to go to New England. That's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, because even then there were a lot of you weren't seeing a lot of prime receivers going to New England because they had their system set with Gronk over there, Aaron Hernandez, when they had that 2 tight end set going.
No, just in general would get people to take less.
O-line,
a running back, a receiver, whatever. They would all take a little less. That's not going to happen anymore, bro.
Right. So if you're part of that defense, you're part of that defense that could then set up on the opposite side of Brady, then that was something appealing always in the past, that you wanted to win a championship. You knew that was where you go, even if you take a little bit less money. And even if it's not your favorite free agent destination as far as the location to go to, then you could still sacrifice that because you had those visions of title chances.
Are we a week away from Dalvin Cook finally making a decision, my brother?
Well, if it's happening, it's got to be within a week if he's going to be showing up for training camp. So I don't think much is changing right now. It seems like it's just Dolphins have their offer on the table. Other teams have their offers on the table. Unless I didn't see anything updated while I was away and not even thinking about this all weekend since the last time I spoke to you. But I haven't seen any updates since then. So it seems like we're a week away, and it's the same scenario. You've got what you got on the table from the Dolphins. You've got some probably a little bit more lucrative deals on the table from other teams, but that may not be in terms of as financially responsible choices because of the taxes, and also you have the location of where you're going. So probably a lot to factor in for Dalvin Cook, how much he wants to be here in Miami.
What'd you think of the agent, revealing that Minnesota has a $7 million offer on the table when, dude, he's not going to eat his ego and go back, even if it's for more money, to back up Alexander Mattison. That would be just wrong, because he talked about being, being the focus of a running game, getting the majority of the carries and team needing me and all that. And he needs to go somewhere else where he could possibly have a good year and show the people in Minnesota, not succumb to Minnesota and say, yeah, I'm no longer good enough to be your starter, but I'm good enough to be your backup. So I don't know how you viewed it, but I kind of viewed it like that is some bogus, desperate ass stuff by the agent. But your thoughts on that?
Yeah, but I wouldn't go as far as saying he's now going to be going into a situation as a backup. I mean, at least it would be a 1A, 1B type of backfield scenario with him and Alexander Mattison. If anything, I mean, yeah, you got to give him a little bit of an edge at least. I know the Vikings haven't.
No, bro. They put Madison on the marquee. They put him on the marquee of the team while he was on the team. At the end of the year, several weeks back, right before they released him, they took out this thing for season ticket holders, and Dalvin Cook on the picture. It was Alexander Mattison, like saying, "We've moved on." So I don't know, bro.
That's because he was still technically on the team, but the writing was on the wall. Everyone knew what was going on at the price that Dalvin Cook was getting paid on that contract over there. So, but I mean, if
I just
money, then you still have to utilize them.
No, you're right about that. But I just think that they're justified by still giving him the majority of the carries, because they gave him the new contract, they committed to him, they put him on the marquee and all that stuff. Madison, I think they're committed to Madison, bro. They're committed to Madison as the number one guy.
Well, yeah. Once you're moving on from Cook at that moment, then you have to do that part of it. Now, if then the scenario plays out that Cook ends up back there, if all those things were to happen, because again, the pride aspect that you mentioned, would he really go back and do that? Then I feel if they were to end up back on the same roster, then at least you go as a 1A, 1B type backfield, even if you did promise a lot to Madison. You explain to him, hey, we've got Dalvin back. We know what Dalvin's capable of, even as he's about to turn 28. It's at the very least an equal timeshare.
Yeah, I've put out this scenario to folks that I get the feeling that they're just dying to bring the Dolphins offer up a little bit so they can take it already. Because here's what I'm imagining: the Dolphins are somewhere in the 4.5 to 5 range. The Jets are in the 5.5 to 6 range. And then Minnesota's at 7. So they're trying to bring up the Dolphin offer closer to the Jets. They know they're not going to get the Minnesota offer, so they can take it. I almost feel like Chris Grier knows what's out there, and he knows how badly the guy wants to play for Miami. So he has stayed strong and kind of kept it at a reasonable number for them, low for Dalvin. But I kind of get that feeling that all they're trying to do is raise the Dolphin offer just a little bit, because this is where they want to sign in the first place.
Right. And those are probably valid theories on those figures. And you know what else Chris Grier and Brandon Shaw are doing? They are running the calculations on what the true net pay is when you consider the state income tax difference. As any organization does, an employee is looking into a potential job offer that is in another state that has greater income taxes. So maybe they don't come back and match that full amount that you're being offered, but they take that into consideration. So that then you go into the process saying, oh, well, is it really worth it when, going where I don't prefer it as much with this difference in pay, when in reality, the taxes make almost the equivalent. So that is all.
I get this feeling that Chris Grier is held back just a little bit. So that way, towards the end, when they kind of sit down, they give them a little incentives, team incentives type thing. So and then the agent will say, well, the Dolphins were really good. They gave us a little bit more in incentives, and the agent will try to sell it like, I was able to fight for a little bit more money and this and that kind of stuff. I just this thing looks so it just, like I told you last week, these guys don't know how to play poker, bro. They just don't know how to play poker. They did not sell this thing right, unfortunately. Yeah. They gave it away right from the get-go. And I think the Dolphins read it and said, yeah, we could get much better here with less money, with no problem right now by doing it this way. So what's your gut tell you? Does he sign next week here? Does he sign?
And to that point, classic negotiation tactic. Then you're never going to start with the real offer. If you have a figure in your head, then start lowballing a little bit. Work. The other side has another figure in mind. You work your way to the middle somewhere and figure that out. So my prediction, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say that within a week, we do find out that Dalvin Cook has decided. I think he has shown that Miami is truly where he wants to be. I think the chips he's been playing poker face with the cards face up. His hand has been shown. This is where he wants to be, and it's basically just some bluffs here and there, and some of it with some truth to it. But as far as just how desirable the other locations are, then that's not really what he's feeling, and what he wants to do is come to Miami, and they're just trying to get that little bit more. And then maybe the Dolphins budge somewhat, but nothing substantial that really moves the needle on threatening their situation under the salary cap. And then obviously considering how much they want to be able to roll over in years to come when there are greater financial restraints for the organization.
All right, what do you got going on the Sun Sentinel so folks can check you out, my friend?
Yeah, well, now within a week of training camp starting, then our countdown to camp series is in full effect here. So 10 days out, 10 storylines, one a day between myself and Chris Perkins. So we've already come out with 3 of them. We got stories on differences for Mike McDaniel that Perk wrote, what he can improve on going into year 2. I wrote about Vic Fangio's defense, how it can be different from Josh Boyer and Brian Flores of years past, and then what would constitute a successful season for Tua Tagovailoa, something we addressed here, maybe slightly inspired by our conversation here as well. So definitely that was what we chose to cover with Tua Tagovailoa going into his critical 4th season here.
Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _, and of course, please subscribe to the Sun Sentinel and support our local journalists who do an excellent job. David, as always, thank you, my brother. We will catch up later in the week.
Thank you, Big O.
You got it. There you go. David Furones and our EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins report. And Eric is great people. I've known Eric for years, proud sponsor of our show on many different platforms. Call him. This is his personal cell number if you live in Dade and Broward counties, 305-433-4843. They use shell construction in-house. That's how they keep the costs down low, folks. They've got a AAA rating from the Better Business Bureau. And we're not talking about a handyman. We're talking about custom home construction and major home remodeling. So if you need a new roof, you got to build an efficiency, whatever it is, you need to modernize that kitchen. We had a listener that unfortunately had a fire in their home. They had to remediate and gut everything out to, rebuild it back inside again. They were able to do that. Call Eric this is his personal cell number. So you're calling the owner's personal cell, Dade or Broward counties, 305-433-4843.